Welcome to this weekly update about the status in Sweden. This week has been a very exciting week for us Swedes, so let's kick it off. Monday. The week started off with a big riot at the school in the suburb of Stockholm. Hallsberg, where the riot took place, is known for over the years taking in large numbers of immigrants, and as any other place in Sweden, they can't handle it. The incident originated from a minor riot that had taken place the Friday before. However, on Monday morning, no more than 30 people from two gangs began to fight each other. The police were called in immediately, but they did not manage to stir up the riot. Instead, the riot was moved out to the streets, where the fighters could arm themselves with stones, throwing at the cops. What's so funny about this story is that the people involved in this riot was not even students at the school. Anyhow, 7 people was arrested. No more than 5 of them were refugees. Well, Mondays are always the worst day of the weekend, but not in this case. Tuesday. Let's see what Tuesday's action brought us. I could not even have my first cup of coffee before I was struck by the news. Double murder in Hallenbergen, also a suburb in Stockholm. 3 men armed with knives walked into an apartment and attacked a 40-year-old couple. The woman died immediately, but the man managed to jump out the window and report the ongoing murder to the police. The man tragically died outside the apartment by the attack of the 3 men. The 3 prosecutors were arrested, and to everyone's surprise, we have now received news that the prosecutors were in the ages of 20, 21, and 16. The ethnicity of the boys were Arabian, Iraqi, and Eritrean. But why was this couple murdered? Apparently, the male victim had witnessed a drug manufacturing and would be the witness in a prosecution that would take place later that day. Unfortunately, he could not. So whoever is running this operation and ordered these murders is still on free foot. Wednesday. Okay, so Wednesday was more or less like a really slow drama film. Nothing happened, at least I thought. It was not until around 10 p.m. the headlines read, 2 men found shot and dead in a car in Kista, also a suburb in Stockholm. The victims, 2 men in their early 20s, was shot several times from close range. The police have stated that they think this crime is due to drug gang rivalry. When they looked into the victims' criminal records, it was filled with charges. For example, violence against police, gang activity, and thefts. Although, the prosecutors are still on free foot. Thursday. On Thursday, the police late on the afternoon went out to the media, claiming needs of more resources. To me, this is not a good sign. This only proves how wrong and mistaken the politicians and the police executives were about how well everything is going in Sweden. Although I think it's good to give them the extra resources, I think it's a bit too late. If you have seen our recent video about the status in Sweden, you know how the cops won't even enter certain zones due to risk of being killed. We also brought up in that video how Malmö, Sweden's 3rd biggest city, was craving extra resources due to the increase of criminal activity and homicides. I sincerely hope the politicians count the cost of giving the police department extra resources as an immigration cost, because that is exactly what it is. Left party politicians' lack of empathy. Back in December, a 14-year-old girl was sexually harassed for a month at a junior high in Malmö without anyone engaging. The situation for the little girl escalated, ended up with her getting raped by her 2 bullies. The ethnicity of the 2 prosecutors was foreign, and one of them was sentenced with rape. However, the boys were not expelled from the school, because the principal at the school felt like the prosecutors were as much victims as the girl. The principal, after a month of pressure from the community, decided to resign. The community in this time also published an apology to the victim and her family, which short after was met with criticism by a politician in the left party, who claimed an apology to the victim and to pressure the principal to resign was an act of cowardice. How this kind of people can rise to power in politics and express themselves in this sort of manner is, for me, Sweden in a nutshell. No to a new police department in Rinkeby. In spring 2014, it was decided that the police department in Rinkeby would shut down. But nearly a year after, the police decided to build a new one for 240 police officers. The new department would have opened this summer, but that plan had been scrapped since no building company had brought any offers. But why has not any offers been brought to the table? Simple, the building companies does not dare to build a police department in one of the most dangerous suburbs in Stockholm because there have been too much violence. Anonymous cops have stated the same exact thing. Sweden's state media SVT is painting up the same picture as the cops and as the building companies. Sources inside SVT claim the risk for theft as well as threats to the constructors would be too big. As we have said before, the criminals rules in these suburbs.